Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Essay. Today we are gonna see, what if Akeno become a sister essay part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Good morning. She says. He turns around facing her and looks at her face. What are you doing here, Ria-san? I am Ria's Gremory, I am your master. What? Asia walks to Issei's room. Damn it, Issei, wake up, you overslept. It's the same thing every day. What the hell am I going to do with you? Crap, if Asia comes in and sees Ria's on my bed, I won't hear the end of it. He thinks. Wait. Asia, I'm awake. I'll be right there. Shit. Come on, Issei, you say that every day, don't you think that I know when you're lying? She retorts while still walking to his room. Oh shit. Think of something, he mutters. Then he trips on his blanket and an idea comes to his mind. He stands up, grabs his blanket and decides to cover Ria's indecency, but alas, he trips again, falling on Ria's, pinning her hands to the bed. He is wide-eyed at the very compromising position he has found, but then he pales because his room door is slammed open. Good morning, Asia. Ria says, smiling while under him. Asia stares with a blank expression at Issei, who is pinning down Ria's to the bed. Issei, breakfast is ready, get ready for school and head down. Asia turns around and closes the door. Several moments later, a loud crash is heard outside. She fainted. Ifufu, this will be fun to explain. Ria said while trying to hold down a giggle. Issei had slid to the floor, laying there motionless while cursing his luck. Meanwhile, Ria's makes no effort to cover up. Oh no, Ria-san, I can see what? She asked curiously, with a smirk on her face. I can see your chest, he responded while still not looking. You can look as much as you like. She tells him. The boy whips his face to meet hers and stutters to respond, but his mind can't produce a complete word. He slams his face to the floor. Please cover up. Soon she stands and walks to her clothes that are piled up in a corner of the room. Moments later, he decides to look at her to ask something and gets a sight that he won't forget. A nude Ria's bending down to pick up her underwear. A trickle of blood trails down his nose because of the view and slams his face to the floor. Ria slips on her underwear and asks Issei to help her with her bra. Moments later, she sits on his bed. I am Ria's Gremory, your new master. Can I call you just Issei? She asks. He nods. Why the hell were you naked in my bed? The surprise in his voice is evident. Ifufu, he's so cute when he's flustered. Ria thinks to herself. You were gravely wounded and I needed to bathe your body in magic to help the healing process. I get that, but why were you naked? He asks. Didn't I tell you? I was helping you heal faster, and the only way to do that is by direct skin contact. She responds in a matter-of-fact tone. He couldn't answer. Oh my god, did I rape her? Did I take advantage of her? That could have happened, with my strength and all, and she's a girl. Relax, I'm still a virgin. She said with a smile, knowing quite well the thoughts that roamed his mind. He sighed in relief, a bit surprised because she seemed to read his mind. He lifts himself up and starts to get dressed, his back to her to avoid showing his equipment that had awakened. When he finishes, he steps out of his room and carries Asia to her room, laying her on her bed and tucking her in. He leaves a note telling her that he will explain everything when he arrives in the afternoon and proceeds to prepare breakfast for the three of them. After a hefty eggs and bacon breakfast, he places some in a bowl for Asia and heads out to school with Ria's. At school, rumors start to spread about Ria's going out with Issei and he can hear everything. Ria's tells him that she will send someone to fetch him after school and leaves him, heading to the second floor. Ria's POV. After leaving Issei, I head up the stairs and find Sona looking down to where Issei is. She looks lost in thought, but to my surprise, she addresses me. I see you found yourself a new servant and a good one at that. What motivated you to turn him? You're never this impulsive when choosing servants, plus you barely know him. Oh, I have a feeling about him, I tell her while looking over to my cute servant with a grin on my face. I just hope that this feeling comes from your gut and not somewhere else. She said while a huge smirk crept on her face. I stammer a bit to answer, while I cover my face with my hair to hide my blush. Although my chest felt pleasantly warm last night. No. What am I thinking? No. It's not like that, okay? I try to convince her, but I feel like I'm saying it to convince myself. Right, she says with an amused look and a wink. My face feels hotter than the bastard's flames and I look down to hide my face. From a distance the bell rings. Ria's, I have something to tell you later. I will pass by the clubroom after school to tell you. My friend Sona tells me before heading to her class. After class, she came by my club room, we discussed the rising threat of stray devils and the request of elimination sent by my father, Lord Gremory. Later on she questioned me about my new piece. She questioned everything about my cute Issei, from how I met him to how I turned him, and after what seemed like hours, she finally left and my peerage, minus Issei, entered the room. I ask Kiba to fetch Issei, and after 15 minutes he arrives with Issei in tow. He sits on the couch, overly relaxed, with Kaneko next to him, and Kiba sits on the opposite couch. Now to the first order of business, we the Occult Research Club would like to welcome you. I tell Issei. He smiles softly, and Akeno arrives from the back with teacups. She hands one to Issei and follows to spread the rest to us. Also, we want to officially welcome you to the House of Grimoire. He sits up momentarily and smiles. You don't feel bad? Kaneko asks on her flat tone. Why should I? I arrive to my hometown and meet some nice people. Then you revive me after I'm killed and accept me to your house. What more kindness can I ask for? You have given me a second lease on life, a new chance to protect my family and friends. I am wide-eyed at his reasoning, and Akeno seems to be happy. Kiba smiles and Kaneko looks relieved. Wow, amazing. Now Issei, you were killed because the fallen angels believed you had a dangerous sacred gear, right? He sits straight, paying attention and nods. Okay, now I want you to focus all of your will and try to summon your sacred gear. I sit on my desk, crossing my legs, while Issei stands in front of me and tries to summon his sacred gear. OMG Ryusen, I can see your black lace thong. Issei. Don't stare. Concentrate. Don't behave like a pervert. Issei thinks. He fails various times and has a slight red face. Maybe he concentrated too hard, I think. Don't worry, maybe you're not ready yet for it. We received a request to exterminate a stray from Duke Grimoire. Issei, I want you to observe us and see how we fight. I tell my cute servant. He nods and we head to the location of the stray. When we arrive, I start explaining Issei my servant's abilities. The knight's trait is unparalleled speed, the rook's trait is unmatched attack and defense, and the queen's trait is a mix of all the traits of the other pieces, the knight's unparalleled speed. The rook's unmatched attack and defense and the bishop's increased magical powers. First, Kiba slashes the stray's hands, then Kaneko punches the devil away, and finally, Akeno fires lightning at the stray, leaving it almost dead. A weird hand attacked me, but lucky for me, Issei defends me. I mouth a thank you to him and proceed to kill the stray. After that we head to the clubroom and I dismiss everyone at Issei's home, his POV. I arrive home after nearly having a nosebleed thanks to Ryusen. I head to the living room and find Asia watching TV. Today ma Asia, I say. She turns around and after a second, a smile appears on her face. She stands and closes the distance between us. I receive a bear hug from her and give her a soft one in return while patting her head. Akari Issei Nai she greets and smiles, but her smile is replaced by an angry face. Ani-chan, what were you doing this morning in your room with Ria-senpai? Her aura is somewhat scary and I remembered what transpired. I swallow hard and proceed to explain to her what Ria's told me. She visibly calms down, but her voice is still scary. I hope you didn't take advantage of the opportunity and did something perverted to Ria-senpai. My mouth fell open. I open and close my mouth trying to say something, but nothing comes out. She starts to giggle and I look at her. She smiles and says. Relax Ani-chan, I know you won't do that. She then starts to giggle some more and laugh loudly. I decide to get my revenge on her and start to tickle her. She starts to thrash around the couch and begs me to stop. I will stop if you tell me why did you give me the necklace and what does it do. She agrees to the terms and I stop my assault. She then sits next to me. Ice Nai, the necklace I gave you controls your powers, as long as. The next area is POV. Today classes went normal. Issei proved to be very smart academically, answering most of the questions about math and English. His Japanese is excellent and his science is average. Sadly his history is deficient. I could help him with that class. I smile sweetly at him and he looks away with a slightly red face. He's smart and cute, a double score. I make a small victory dance in my head and listen to the rest of the class. After class, we head to the cafeteria to get lunch and Issei sits alone. I sit with Akeno at the table reserved for the members of the Occult Research Club and call my cute servant Issei, come and sit with us, this table is for the club members. I wave at him while calling him. His body tensed up, but he still turned to see us. Mere moments later, he relaxes and smiles back. I look to my side and Akeno is smiling at him with the happiest expression I have seen on her face. There is a seat in between Akeno and me and he sits there. I look at Akeno and she glares at me, like saying this means war, so I decide to lean in on Issei. Akeno sees this and does something a bit more aggressive, she hugs his arm and asks him for a walk home. Kiba notices the something around me and Akeno and drags Kaneko away to God knows where in a hurry. After they leave, I start to glare at Akeno. We release Issei and have a staring match. After I win by a hair, I notice something very important, Issei is gone and his place is occupied with a note, Ryusen, Akeno-san, it's 12:10 and I have to get some stuff for the clubroom. Meet you two there, Issei, I feel a bit sad. We went and had a silent argument over Issei while he was in front of us. I sigh and Akeno looks troubled. We both agree to make it up to Issei later, somehow. It's 1:20 and we both leave for the clubroom. When we arrive, Issei is napping on the couch, Kiba is reading, and Kaneko is eating her sweets on the couch next to Issei. I wake up Issei, start officially the club activities and Kiba leaves for his contract. Kaneko had more than one contract today, and I ask Issei to lend Kaneko a hand. He agreed and tried to jump using a magic circle, but he failed. It appears that his demonic powers are too weak, so I tell him to go on a bike. Issei Pav. What fucking demon goes to a summon on a bike, a stupid bike? After I arrive, Morisawa-sen ignored me because he called for Kaneko, but I told him about her multiple contracts and after 15 minutes he understood. We talked for a while with green tea in our cups and I watch all episodes of Drag So Ball because of him. I head home without a contract. Butcho is going to kill me when I get there as I trail of, I don't notice the rock in my way and fall unceremoniously to the ground face first. Soon, my devil senses kick in and I roll to the side to avoid what came at me. I look to where I was and see a light spear. A mysterious woman is approaching me while talking. Oh, so you are the one Donaseek was ordered to kill. Seems he failed on his task. Why do I have to clean up his shit all the time? Prepare to die boy, she forms another light spear and throws it at me. I avoid it and try to tap into my dragon powers, but something blocks me access. Then I start to remember what Ria's told me. Flashback. Issei, to summon your sacred gear, you must focus and think of the strongest thing you know. Sacred gears respond to the will of the owner. The more you want it, the more chance the sacred gear will appear and work. Flashback end. After some moments, my sacred gear appears. Not bad, a red glove-like gauntlet with a green gem and 2 spikes appears on my hand. The mystery woman starts to laugh and cackle uncontrollably. Jajajajaj, Raynare wasted her time on a simple twice critical. And to think that our intelligence classified you as a potential threat to us, but what you have can't even scratch us. Luck is on your side today, I have to report this, and with this she left, well I wondered what had happened. I pick up my bike, mount it and head to the clubroom. Later that night. I arrive at the clubroom and Riaz is waiting for me with Akeno. I sigh and proceed to approach the desk, knowing that I might get scolded for not making a contract. Riaz unfolds her arms from under her chest and stands directly in front of me. Slap. After I head to her, a loud slap is heard. My cheek feels like on fire, but I ignore it and look at her. A lone tear rolls down her face. Don't you ever try to fight a fallen angel alone. You could have died. Now we have a bad standing with them, she said with a downcast expression. Now, I'm curious. How did I make a bad standing? Look Issei, they were ordered to have you killed and now they know that we revived you. That gives them a reason to be mad at us, but it's not your fault. We didn't know that the contract was close to fallen angels. Riaz tells me while whipping her face and sitting down on her chair. Ah, that's why. This leading stuff sure is hard. I look at Akeno and she has a pained expression on her face. Go home Issei, your work for today is done. Riaz dismisses me and I leave. Akeno Pav. I watch as Riaz slaps Issei on the face. It hurts to see that, but she does it only once. After she explains why we now have a bad standing, she dismisses him and we stay alone. Weren't you a bit too rough on him Riaz? He's new to this you know I say. She looks at me with pain written all over her face I know, but if I'm not this rough, he won't understand. I felt horrible when I slapped him. Maybe I could comfort him and make him understand why Riaz did that. You may go Akeno, I'll clean up here. Riaz tells me while starting to sort her pile of papers. I bow and leave to find him, but he vanished into thin air. I look around town for nearly an hour, but I can't find him. I find myself at a park and decide to take a rest. After 10 minutes, a lone guy walks in my field of view and sits on the grass, in a meditation pose. With my enhanced sight I see his hair, a brown mop of hair that falls wildly to his sides, but it has a kind of neatness to it. As I observe him, his right hand glows a faint green color and something appears on it, a red glove-like object with yellow spikes that covers his upper palm and part of his forearm. Fire then appears on his hand and I panic slightly. The fire dances in his hand, but he doesn't get burned and I watch entranced as he makes shapes with the fire until 2 miniature western dragons appear from the flames. The increased light from the fire allows me to see his clothing better. He has a uniform white shirt with black vertical stripes and what looks like a jacket next to him. The jacket looks extremely familiar, so I decide to get close to get a better look at it. As he converses with the flames that seem to have a life of their own, I inspect the jacket and find to be the Ku Academy jacket. Soon a voice calls me, one that I've heard before. Who goes it's you. It has been a long time Miss Fallen Angel. Are you a devil now? The voice startled me and I fall to the ground loudly. Issei doesn't notice me and continues his conversation with one of the fire dragons. Yeah, it happened a few months after the incident. I respond. Does he remember you? No, but we are in the same class and peerage, and the good thing is that he didn't change after all this time, he's still the Issei I remember. Oh, the miniature fire dragon smiles, being so close to you might weaken the memory erase. You better prepare yourself. His memory might return. His memories will surely return being so close to her. Thanks for the heads up Doc. Doggy no. My name is Drag. Be prepared. I must go now, my partner Albion must be done with him. After that the voice vanishes and I slowly open my eyes again to find Issei staring at me with his face really close to mine. What are you doing here Akeno-san? He asks while tilting his head to the side and looking at me as if checking me out. I can't produce a single word and drop my head. I try to stand up and leave, but he grabs my hand and I look at him with my face as red as his glove thing. Now that I get a closer look at it, it looks like a small gauntlet with a green gem and 2 yellow spikes. I guess that it's his sacred gear. I try to say something, but I can't. If you want you can stay here. Sometimes I feel lonely when I meditate and your company is soothing. As he says this, he releases my hand and I feel like my face makes Ria's crimson hair jealous. I sit down next to him. He starts meditating again and fire spreads from his right hand. He then extends his hand like he wants me to touch it. I get my hand close but hesitate and retract it. He looks at me with an amused face and with his left hand, that's not covered in flames, grabs my hand to immobilize it. He then opens his hand that is covered in flames on top of mine and the fire drops from his hand to mine like if the fire were a mere object. I frantically try to move my hand but he stops me and motions me to look at my hand. My hand feels pleasantly warm and the fire doesn't burn me. I am amazed by the fire in my hand as he explains to me that if he wants it, he can make his fire harmless. I explain to him why Rias did what she did, he understands, and after nearly an hour it's nearing midnight. He stands up and helps me stand, then asks where my house is and he takes me there. He lets me at my house and says goodnight while sporting a very warm smile. I walk to my room and plop down on my bed. His smile warms my heart and I fall asleep with the thought of his smile. Normal Pav. As Issei walks to his house, he passes the school and notices that the lights of the old school building are turned on. He walks to the building and enters, noticing a door that is locked with chains. He decides to look around but is startled. What are you doing here Issei-senpai? Kaneko appears out of nowhere. She is eating sweets and has her hairpins off, she's wearing a cat print shirt and shorts that look like PJs. Crap Kaneko, don't scare me like that. I was just curious as to why the lights are on, then I saw the door and got curious as to why it was chained. She looks at him looking for a lie. Rias is doing some club work and I can't talk about the door. She says. Ah. Let me see if she needs any help. Kaneko nods at him and leaves. With the corner of his eye, he sees something white move fast and turns to look at the object but finds nothing, only Kaneko walking away and turning at a corner. He heads to the clubroom and opens the door. Rias is talking to some woman with silver hair. Both of them look at Issei. Oh, I'm sorry Riasan, I didn't know you had business with important people. The silver-haired woman looks at him surprised, recognizing him, but regains her composure quickly. Do not worry, my business with Lady Rias has been taken care of. If you'll excuse me Rias, I will be on my way. She turns to Issei and gives him a bow complimented with a smile. Issei bows at her respectfully and she smiles sincerely, something even Rias has never seen from her towards anyone except her brother. A white magic circle appears at her feet and she vanishes. How does he know who she is? I'll have to ask him later about her. Rias thought to herself. What are you doing here Issei? She asks him after a few seconds of silence. I was walking home and saw the clubroom lights on. I came here and Kaneko told me you had club work and I decided to lend you a hand. She smiles sweetly at him. I'm all done with the club work. I had a reunion with someone and that's why the lights were on. Head home and rest Issei. He's curious about what was the business the silver-haired woman had with Rias, but he obeys his master and heads home to rest. When he arrives, there is a note on the fridge. Dear Issei, I found out that the church is run down and I want to fix it. Won't be home for 3 days. Food is on the fridge for when you get home. Take care. You're out to Asia. He sighs and heads to his room with a plate of food in hand, eats it and decides to sleep early. 2 days later Issei Pav. After school, Rias called us to the clubroom. When I arrive, Kiba and Kaneko are sitting on the sofa while Akeno-san is nowhere to be seen. The sound of a shower breaks the silence and I look at Kiba incredulously. Is there a shower here? Kiba looks up from his book and nods. Kaneko stands and offers me a candy bar, which I accept and eat it while taking a seat near her. I get bored fast, so I decide to inspect my sacred gear. After I summon it, Kaneko looks away from her candy bar and stares at it, which gives me the chills. Akeno-san appears out of nowhere, like Kaneko did 2 days ago. Yufufu, impressive Issei-kun, you got it twice critical. Your sacred gear doubles your strength after 10 seconds and holds that boost for a few minutes. It might not be much, but if you improve your physical strength, it can work for longer. Akeno-san informs me and the rest of us while holding a towel in her hand. She heads to the bathroom and comes out moments later. Soon Ria steps out, only in her towel, and my blood rushes to my nose, but I control it. Simultaneously, my little friend decides to wake up and I make an attempt to cover him with a hand that has the sacred gear. I'm not a pervert like those two that peep at girls. But I'm a man and her impressive bosom is nice. What? No. Bad Issei. Rias heads to the change screen near the desk and starts talking Issei. Kaneko has multiple requests this afternoon, again, could you lend her a hand with one of them? Yeah, no prob butcho. I answer her. Thank you Issei-senpai. Kaneko says with her flat tone, bows and leaves via magic circle to her request. I say my goodbyes and head to the request on my bike. When I arrive, I knock at the door, but no one answers. I notice the door open and head in, announcing myself as I lock the door behind me and leave my shoes there. When I reach the living room, I step on a puddle and raise my foot to look. My sock is drenched in blood and I get startled. A man sitting on the couch laughs manically. Jahahaja looks like my day just got better. First I eliminate the sinner that called a devil, and now I get to kill a shitty devil. I am the exorcist Fried Selzen, and I am the one that will rid the world of your shitty existence. As he says this, he pulls out his gun, and I summon my sacred gear. Oh, the shitty devil has a sacred gear. Well you motherfucker, why don't you come at me and show me what a lousy devil can do? He raises his gun and I run at him. He shoots at me and I use my sacred gear to deflect the bullets, but I can't block them all, and I get hit on my thigh. Ah. What the hell? I scream in pain. This is my exorcist gun with blessed bullets. It's very useful for killing assholes like you. Boo ha ha ha. And this is my light sword. Time to die, shitty devil. He pulls out a swordless hilt and a beam of light appears on it. He then proceeds shoots me again and I jump to the side to avoid the bullet, but he uses his sword and slashes me in the back. I wail out in pain, but then a sound calls our attention. At the back of the house, a fight seems to have developed and screams are heard. Fire starts to come from the back and a guy runs out with most of his clothes singed. Fried raises his hand to strike me down, but a scream stops him. No. I look and see Asia. What are you doing here Asia? I ask. Fried looks at her and goes to her. You snotty little bitch, you were supposed to maintain the barrier. He slaps her and I growl at him. Oh, do you know her you fucking creep? Fried asks and I simply ignore him. Asia, escape and head home. I'll meet you there. I tell her. Fried looks at her. So your family is just a fucking devil you whore. Better for me. Now I can kill him without asking Caliwerner. He smiled manically and drew his gun at me. Asia stepped in front of him and pleaded him to stop. Fried used his sword and slashed Asia's clothes. Then he started groping her while keeping his gun at her face. You know what happens to bad sisters, they said not to harm you, but now I don't care. What would people say to you, a sister, when they find out a priest had his way with her? I could see the fear in Asia's eyes. As she attempted to cover herself, the priest handled her chest and had his gun to her. My rage soared and I challenged him. Get your dirty hands off of my sister you bastard. I won't have mercy on you if you dare to harm her. He licked his lips and kept groping Asia. Mighty words for a low-class devil like you. Well, you shitty devil, it's time to end you. He left Asia and pulled his sword to kill me. When he was about to hit me, a magic circle appeared in front of me and I fell back. Then a black sword appeared from the magic circle and blocked the light sword. Kiba appeared from the circle and kept Fried away. Soon, Kaneko and Akeno-san come out of the circle. I'm sorry, but he's one of us. I can't let you harm him. Kiba declared. Yufufu, what a piece of work this guy is. Akeno-san said. And you, my girl, are a nice piece of ass. After I exercise I love to grab a nice piece of devil ass. Fried said wow, what a perv. Kaneko retorted flatly. Fried then looks at Kiba, then at me, and has a lecherous face. Tell me now pretty boy, are you the one that gives and he receives or is it the other way around? Kiba looked at Fried with disgust. Damn, for a priest you sure have a foul mouth. As he kept laughing, Rias came out of the portal and went straight for me. Are you okay Issei? She asked while looking at me. I look down ashamed while I feel tears fall down my face. I'm sorry butcho. I couldn't make a contract. I say. Don't be, I'm the one who should be sorry. You are so wounded and you still care more about how I feel. She tells me. Then she ordered Kaneko to grab me since she said that fallen angels were coming. I fight a grip, trying to get to Asia, but Riaz tells me that only people from her house can use the portal. Issei, I'll be fine. Just go and take care of yourself. I can take care of myself. Asia tells me. Nuo. I can't leave you. Riaz, let me go. I have to protect her. I scream as the portal activates. I look at Asia and she's smiling, while tears run down her face. Goodbye Issei. I lem she said sweetly, but I couldn't hear the rest because the portal took us to the clubroom. Nu. Riaz. Let's go and get her. I yell at her. Issei-kun, you're badly hurt and we need you to heal first. Akeno-san tells me, but I don't listen to her. Senpai, you need to calm down. If you go there wounded like that, you can die. Kaneko said, inexpressively as always, but a hint of concern was evident in her voice. Man, I can get why you want to go there and help her, but she's a nun, and Riaz won't let you help. Kiba tried to reason. You don't know anything. I don't care what Riaz thinks. I will rescue my sister no matter what. I tell them angrily. Kiba and Akeno-san look shocked. Kaneko just smiles weakly with big eyes. Riaz comes from the back of the room with a surprised face. She's your sister? She asked, still not believing her ears. Well, she's not my real sister, she's my stepsister. Her parents took me in when I was little, lost in the streets of Europe. I never cared if she was my stepsister or not, to me she's my sister, and I swore to keep her safe. I finish my speech and Kiba smiles, Kaneko nods, Akeno-san has tears rolling down her cheeks while smiling, and Riaz is in the same boat as Akeno-san. Look Issei, we need to use our heads and think straight, and you need to recuperate from your wounds. As she said this, she gestured Akeno-san and Kaneko to help her. Both of them took my shirt, Akeno-san started healing my back with her magic, and Kaneko used her healing abilities on my leg. After they were done, Riaz bandaged me, and I headed outside to the clearing near the back of the old school building. I sit in a meditation pose and summon my fires. Soon the two dragons form from the fire, and I talk to Drag. Riaz Pav. After this revelation that Asia is Issei's sister, he leaves and Akeno follows him a few moments later. I look at Kiba, asking him silently if he knew, and he shakes his head. Kaneko shakes her head and then gestures me to go and find him. I nod and head out to find him. Outside I see Akeno next to Issei, silent, like trying to listen to something. I get close to her and she turns to face me. Riaz, what's wrong? She asked. I wondered what happened to Issei, so I went to find him. Why are you here? I ask. When he meditates he can communicate with the dragons inside of him. I was calling the one I talked to the other time, but he won't respond. I wanted to ask him about Asia. She says, a bit downcast. Soon, a voice calls the two beauties. How goes there you there, Miss Fallen Angel Devil, were you the one calling Drag? Yes, we wanted to ask Drag something about Issei's past. Akeno tells the fire in front of her and extends her hand. I grab her hand to stop her from burning herself, but she tells me it's okay and goes to touch the small fire dragon. I have my eyes that are about to pop out of my sockets, but she just touches the fire. He lets himself be petted and rests on Akeno's lap. What do you two wish to know about Issei's past? We would like to know what happened to Issei in Europe. I tell the flame. Sit down. This is a long story and it may take a while. I sit next to Akeno and listen to the dragon. Meanwhile with Issei, his pav. Greg, I need you to talk to you. I call him and soon he responds. Partner, feeling better from your injuries? What do you need to talk about? I'm fine. I want to know if the magic you taught me has healing capabilities or any capabilities other than combat. Your wind magic has some healing and support capabilities, your shadow magic can nullify light damage, but it's an extremely advanced TECHNIQUE but with your lineage, you will be able to master it easily, you just have to discover it. Your fire magic can cauterize wounds and smelt metals and afford your thunder magic can be used as a defibrillator, and to power electrical appliances, your sound magic can be used as a type of sonar. Your iron magic can be used as tools like hammers or knives, also delicate tools like a scalpel or tweezers for pulling stuff out of a body, and your poison magic can remove poison, but it's very tricky and dangerous, if done wrong you can die. I was amazed by all the things I could do besides fight. Okay Drag, I want you to teach me how to heal using wind, how to nullify light using shadow magic, and how to remove poison. Drag seemed in shock. Are you sure you want to learn that, boy? The healing is simple, but light nullifying is extremely hard to master, and poison removal can kill you, and I don't want to kill my host. I am sure of it, but I think that if you can just take my consciousness to the void, if I fail, my body won't die. That could work, but I cannot guarantee your survival if you fail the poison removal. It's okay. I will take the risk. Jahaja. You're amusing partner. I will teach you and show my determination. After 5 minutes of silence, Drake calls me. Partner, the preparations for the transport are ready. I told Albion about it and he will join us later. He's talking to your master and Akeno. What are Rias and Akeno-san asking Albion? I asked Drake curiously. Albion said something about how you met Asia and your past in Europe. He will tell us later, we must leave now. Your consciousness will leave for 2 human days. I believe that time is enough for teaching you all that you asked for. Okay. Let's go Drake, I have no time to lose, some fallen angels kidnapped Asia and I need this so I can rescue her. Drake nods his head and we leave for the void. With Rias and Akeno, Rias Pav. After what seems like a horror story from the dragon that calls himself Albion, he tells us that Issei's consciousness will leave for 2 days. He moves towards Issei and lands next to the other fire. Soon both fires die down and Issei collapses. Akeno grabs him in the nick of time before he receives more injuries and we take him to his room, carefully, so we don't open his wounds again. We lay him on the bed and decide that one of us will stay with him to watch over him, changing every few hours. Akeno takes first watch and I leave for my room. I lay on my bed and fall asleep. 2 days later, normal Pav. Issei woke up and found Akeno sleeping on a chair next to his bed, gripping his hand. He pokes her face to wake her up and a few pokes later she does. Good morning Akeno-san he says. She yawns and greets him. She then looks at Issei and notices that her hand is warm. After a quick peek at her hand, she notices that their hands are together with their fingers intertwined and she removes it extremely fast, sporting a very cute blush. Issei smiles at Akeno's antics. Soon he asks about Asia and she told him that she didn't arrive and Issei started panicking. He decided to look for her against Akeno's suggestion. Issei-kun, your wounds haven't healed yet. You should refrain from moving too much. You could open your wounds again she tries to tell him, but he had already left. He left and headed for the nearby park, sensing her smell there when he arrived. The scent at the park leads him to a burger shop and an arcade. He looks at the arcade, but he can't find her, but picks up her smell heading out to a nearby fountain. There, he finds the mystery woman that attacked him holding Asia, who seems to be out cold with bruises on her body, while the mysterious woman has burn marks. What the hell did you do to her? Issei asks while summoning his twice critical and flames covering his hands. Oh, so scary. She says sarcastically I am taking her and there is nothing you can do about it. Like hell I'll let you take her. Issei, mad at her, jumps and punches her, but she blocks his punch with a light spear. Ah! He howls in pain because the tip of the spear impaled his arm. He falls to the fountain and the woman throws a spear at him. He moves away, but not fast enough, for the spear gets his leg and he collapses, giving the captor the time she needed to escape. He was expecting an incredible amount of pain, but he only had pain similar to when you break a few bones. He tried using his shadow magic, but he couldn't master the technique with drag and couldn't nullify the pain. With a heavy step and some blood dripping from his legs, Issei heads to the clubroom. There, Kaneko calls Akeno and Rias. Akeno and Kaneko tend to his wounds, while Rias scolds him. Rias, we have to do something. Those fallen angels have kidnapped Asia. Let's go rescue her. The power of the necklace that Asia gave Issei, weakened because of the distance, can't control Issei's powers, and fire starts to lick his legs. Akeno, startled, backs off from Issei and looks at Rias. Calm down Issei, we can't simply barge in and beat everyone. We need to think first. Besides, the fallen angels are in a church. If we barge in there we will have trouble with the angels. Rias tried to reason with him. I don't fucking care about that. She was kidnapped and I need to rescue her. If you want to avoid trouble, remove me from your house. I just want to make sure she's safe. I don't care what happens to me. Slap. Rias had her hand held high. Don't you ever ask me to remove you from my house again. I am your master and I do care what happens to you, so does Kaneko, Asia, Kiba and Akeno. She tells him. Everyone mentioned nods in approval. But I'm a useless piece for you, I'm just a pawn. A useless piece that can be sacrificed. He reasons. No one answers. Rias takes a deep breath to calm down. Pawns are not useless Issei. What is the ability of a pawn? She asks, and he doesn't respond. Issei, the pawn's ability is promotion, same as in real chess. Once a pawn reaches enemy territory, it can obtain a promotion to any piece except the king. Issei looks like he understood what she meant. To receive a promotion, you must get to enemy territory. A good example of it is the church. Now Akeno and I have some matters to deal with. We will be back later. She calls Akeno and both leave. Issei decides to attack the church knowing well that Rias will be against it, so he asks for Kiba and Kaneko's help. All of them agree and leave for the church. The 3 of them reach the church and engage Freed. After a beating given by the Gremory team, they head to the basement of the church, where the ceremony that Freed told them was taking place. Inside the basement, over 20 priests were waiting for them. At the end of the room, there is a type of altar and two people are standing at the end, one had a hood on, and the other one was the fallen angel Raynare. Kiba and Kaneko deal with the rogue priests, while Issei runs to get Asia while summoning his sacred gear. The man in the hood steps to the side while Raynare stays still. The man then unfurls his 10 black wings, laughs loudly and says, "Congratulations boy. This is your prize for reaching this far." He points at Asia, and the restraints on her get released and she falls to the ground. Issei grabs her before she hits the ground and starts to cradle her head. "I say," she says in a small voice while crying. "Shhh, don't waste your strength. Let's get you out of here and I'll have Akeno-san heal you." He tells her, but she knew that she was not going to recuperate. When they reach the church hall, Issei places Asia on a bench and she starts to close her eyes. Issei quickly grabs her hand, for him it was ice cold. Asia, stay with me sis. You will be alright. Akeno-san will heal you and you will be fine. After that I will take you to karaoke and bowling and you can meet my new friends, they are some nice people. Sniff. Kaneko is small and sweet, she might be a year younger than you, but you two will get along great. Sniff. Kiba is a good guy, I think that he's a bit of an airhead. Akeno-san and Ryasan are very nice and affectionate, he continues, but she stops him. She raises her hand to his face, places a finger on his lips to silence him, and caresses his cheek gently. "Ani-chan, please don't cry. Thanks to you I was able to be happy, you must know, same as me, that I won't be able to survive." Asia tells him, while stroking his cheek as gently as her debilitating body permitted her, but he doesn't allow her to finish her sentence. "Yes you will Asian. You have to. You're my sister and I need you. We will get away from here and resume our lives." He tells her while a torrent of tears flows from his eyes. "Issei, please, I'm so happy, I will always treasure you as my brother, thank you." Asia speaks in a small voice while her breathing gets shallower and her hand wipes away his tears gently. "Thanks Ani-chan, I love." Why with this, Asia's hand falls to her side and stops moving. Her chest stops rising and falling, signalizing her passing. Issei starts sobbing hard and crying loudly. "Why God, why did you take her away from me? Why didn't you listen to her prayer? Was it because she was family of a devil? Why didn't you take me? Give her back." Issei screams. Soon a voice reaches to him. A devil asking for forgiveness in a church. "If you want to repent, I can kill you and maybe, just maybe, God can forgive you." The hooded man from before talks to Issei. "I'll kill you, you motherfucking bastard. Hurting me is something, but hurting Asia is crossing the line." Issei yells at him. "Ho, what spirit you have. Sadly, I won't be your opponent, she will." As the hooded man points to a corner, Raynare appears. "She will fight you, and neither you nor her can do anything about it. She's being controlled by my magic." The turmoil of emotions inside of Issei start to destroy his sanity. With Asia gone, his necklace stops working. Flashback. "As long as I am alive, the necklace will consume part of my magic and suppress your dragonic powers, and if I allow it, the necklace will permit you to tap into your dragonic powers. If I were to die, the necklace will stop working and your powers will be accessible to you without restrictions." Asia told Issei. Flashback end. His sacred gear starts to shine brightly and emit an incredible aura. "Give her back," he whispers. The 10-winged man looks at him incredulously. The aura Issei emits is comparable to a middle-class devil, and he was just reincarnated as a devil no more than a week ago. "Finish him Raynare. I must meet with my associate and deal with him." But this, the 10-winged man left. "Buahahaha, it seems you couldn't do anything for the sister here. She was all Issei Nai will rescue me. But in the end you couldn't do anything." Issei kept silent. His sacred gear kept releasing an incredible amount of aura. "Ahaha, I forgot I'm a devil now, so God won't listen to me, maybe I should pray to Mayu. I will do that. Mayu, I know you exist, I want to ask you for a favor please." Issei kept mumbling to himself. "Have you lost your mind?" Raynare asks with fake concern. "Give me the strength, Mayu-sama, to be able to kick this fallen angel's ass." As he said this, his sacred gear shone brightly. Boosted gear. First liberation. The twice critical on his hand transformed to the Longinus class sacred gear, boosted gear. The small glove broke and expanded, covering his whole forearm, then 2 spikes appeared close to his elbow, and the jewel broke and turned into an emerald green gem with a reddish hue in the center. Raynare had her eyes the size of saucers. Soon, his body started emitting a strange aura, one that the fallen angel couldn't recognize. Scales appeared on Issei's forearms and neck, and fire started to swell around him. The slits in his eyes started expanding and contracting uncontrollably. The fallen beauty started to shake uncontrollably. Issei lunged at her with incredible speed and punched her on her gut. She flew to the other side of the church and groaned. She stood up and looked at his eyes, the brown color they possessed changed to a completely black color. Soon, Issei started transforming, his limbs turned thicker and he grew black-colored scales. His forepaws had red coloring with yellow spikes rising from them and green specks. The dragon in front of Raynare glared at her, then at Asia's body, then back at her. The expression on it was one of sorrow, and it attacked Raynare without restraint. With a single swipe, Raynare flew through the church and exited through the hole created by the force of the throw. Rias and Akeno walked inside of the church and were astonished by what they found. A dragon, who seemed to be looking at something below it, a destroyed church, and a hole where black feathers were seen. Kiba and Kaneko came behind the two beauties. Rias approaches the dragon. Issei, is that you? The dragon looks at her, but then lowers his gaze to Asia. Rias then gets closer, but he snarls at her. It's me, Rias. Please relax. While saying this, she closed a distance and tried to touch the dragon. The creature, mad, swipes his paw and Rias flies to a wall, bruising a few ribs and receiving a cut to the head. Seeing this, Akeno runs towards the dragon, while tears cascade down her beautiful pale white face and hugs one of its legs. Issei-kun, please, return to the one I remember, the one I love. The last part, Akeno said it barely as a whisper, but he heard them. The dragon looks at Akeno, and a tear falls down his face. The creature starts to change shape, and after a minute, the dragon turns into a boy. The boy raises a hand and gently wipes the tears away from her face. Akeno-chan, I lo Issei can't finish his sentence and collapses on the floor of exhaustion. Akeno grabs him before he hits the ground and hugs him tenderly. Rias wakes up and heads towards Asia. Kaneko walked outside and returned to the church while dragging something. A fallen angel, hurt and beat. The two great one-samas approached Asia and revived her as one of the members of the House of Gremory. Rias then walks towards Kaneko, who is holding the fallen angel. My name is Rias Gremory. Pleased to make you acquaintance, fallen angel Raynare, even if only for a little while. Raynare lowers her head and doesn't respond, a tear falls down her face. You hurt one of my servants and one of his family, something unforgivable. Any last words? Raynare raises her head. I deserve this, I am better off dead. I tried. But I only hurt him. Rias humphed and gathered a considerable amount of destruction magic in her hand. In the moment she is about to thrust her power at Raynare, Issei stops her. Butcho, please, let me talk alone with her. Rias is bewildered by his decision, but allows it. Everyone clears the hall except Issei and Raynare. He uses his wind magic and heals her. Raynare, leave. I have decided to spare you. I haven't forgiven you, but maybe with time I will. Raynare is amazed by his kindness. She starts to sob and nods. He then helps her stand and lets her leave. Issei calls Rias and the rest of the occult research club, telling them that they can enter the church. When they enter, Raynare is gone, and Issei proceeds to explain why he lets Raynare leave and heads to Asia. He starts to cry again and grabs a hold of her delicate hand. Soon he feels that her hand squeezes his lightly. He starts to shed tears of joy. Welcome back sis, he then hugs her affectionately and sobs. Let's go home Asia, let's go home. As she stands, Issei collapses of fatigue and exhaustion. The next day Issei Pav. I wake up and attempt to move, but I can't. My eyes slowly adjust to the light and I can see my room ceiling. I try to move my legs, but they feel sore. I reach for my cell, but I find a mop of black hair next to me. After looking, she's wearing her Kuu Academy uniform and is sleeping next to me. Akeno-chan. Her white skin has an eerie glow, thanks to the low light that filters into the room from the closed curtain. I decide to let her sleep, while I decide to just admire the girl No, the woman I love. She stirs in her sleep and hugs one of my arms. 20 minutes later, she wakes up. She yawns cutely and hugs my arm again tightly. Good morning Akeno-chan. I say lowly. She looks at me and smiles, but then she sees that she's holding my arm like a pillow and blushes a hint of pink. Akeno-chan, did you mean what you said yesterday? Her face turned pale. Issei Akeno-chan looks down while her cheeks are red and starts to play with a strand of her hair. Why yes, she drops her head in embarrassment. I feel my face really hot. What a relief. I thought that I was going to be rejected by one of the two great one-samas wa. She asks while making the cutest puppy dog eyes I have ever seen. The face she is making is irresistible. I steel my nerves and decide to open up my feelings. Akeno-chan, her face is the shade of a tomato and has a big smile, expecting me to say what is in my mind while continuing to play with her hair. The door to my room starts to shake and we both get startled. Then, since I can't tell her because of my nerves, something crazy crosses my mind. I reduce the distance between us and while she is distracted playing with a strand of her silky soft black hair, I seal her lips with mine. I give her a very short but sweet kiss on her lips. When I part from her, she has her face, ears and neck a deep shade of red and is a stuttering mess. I smile at her. I decide to hug her and she smiles on my chest while leaning in on my hug. Suddenly, the door is slammed open and Rias enters the room covered with a dark aura. Akeno, what are you doing to my Issei? Akeno smiles. Ara. I was just being spoiled by my Issei-kun. She says without faltering. Asia appears from behind Ria's while pouting. Why are you pouting, Asia? Ria starts to ooze more of her scary aura out and only one thought comes to mind. Issei, Ria says while clenching her fists. I'm going to die today. End of the part 2 here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.